And good morning, everybody. Hope you're well. Sunday morning, and I think we'll just do a week in review. And I think we're probably going to do these on a Friday, but we've not done it yet. And Friday's gone, so it's Sunday. We thought we'd just run past it. And we've got 4 different areas that we're going to run through: property, business, finances, and market sentiment. And we'll just give you an idea of what's going on in the marketplace, and then the better informed you are, the better choices you can make, basically. That's kind of the idea behind it. And then I just wanted to put a little bit of spin on it from my own perspective, just give you my thoughts about what's going on. So let's just deal with property first of all. And we said this was coming for quite some time, quite frankly. People are like, why are you not Airbnb-ing your properties? And I'm like, it's because something's coming, right? And I felt that something's been coming with Airbnb properties for quite some time, but I felt this for like 3 or 4 years. There's obviously a shortfall of available rental properties in the marketplace, right? So where the government going to get new properties from? We're not building any. So where are we going to get all these properties from? Well, Airbnb. Like, how many properties have been taken off the market for rental or for sale and that have gone on to Airbnb? And so now there's talk that the government are going to issue a new permit. If you want to run an Airbnb, you're going to have to apply to your local council, a little bit like planning permission, basically. Don't know what I've got my headphones on for, I don't need those. But a little bit like planning permission for your Airbnb. Now, obviously this has already come in to some extent in London, where you've got, without planning permission, you've got like a 90-day span that you can rent your Airbnb out, which is a bit daft. Like, 90 days? Why 90 days? Why not 180? Why not a week? Like, I'm not really sure what that's supposed to achieve. It's either an Airbnb, in which case it's an Airbnb full-time, or it's not an Airbnb. But I think it's probably designed so that if people travelling away with Airbnb their homes, they can still do that. Just well, I was going to say a bit weird and a bit disjointed, but everything this government does is disjointed. Now, you could also say that this is Sadiq Khan's view of how to implement things, not the government, but everything Sadiq Khan does is pretty disjointed as well. Look at the ULEZ stuff. I mean, just what a mess that is. But the question is, what are you going to do with your Airbnbs? Are you going to continue to rent them? Are you going to wait until this new permit comes in? If it comes in, we're going to have a general election. Is it late 2024? So by the time this current government gets an Airbnb permit thing in place, they'll probably be out of power. Maybe they won't. Maybe we'll get back in power. I'm not sure the British public can take much more bullshit, but there you go. So that's the Airbnb thing that came out this week. It was quite interesting. Now the next thing I wanted to talk about, and you'll find this quite funny. Now, I'm not going to mention any names, okay? But I wrote down what I wanted to say about this. 2 of the UK's biggest knobheads in property are having a boxing match. Now, I can't stand either one of these 2 people, but it's for charity, And honestly, I would pay really good money to see them hit each other in the face as hard as possible. So I'm not going to mention who it is. You do your own research, you find out who it is there. But these guys are just... I just don't think they're very nice people, basically. But the 2 knobheads, and we're going to go do this charity boxing match. And I was looking at tickets, like 50 quid. I was like, yeah, I'll spend 50 quid. And the other thing I was thinking about doing was doing like every time someone gets a clean shot on the other person, like I'll put £5 towards a charity. I thought that would be really funny. Now, obviously, violence doesn't solve all problems, right? It solves some of them, but it doesn't solve all problems. But this is a charity boxing match. Yeah, I put a £5 or a £10 down for every good punch they land on each other. So I thought that was quite funny. Normally I wouldn't do that. A friend of mine did do one of those white-collar boxing matches for charity, and he really enjoyed it. He enjoyed the working out. I don't think he enjoyed getting punched in the face, but he enjoyed the working out. But anyway, that's a thing that's on in July in London, I think, and they put up this fake press conference. Everything they do is fake anyway, let's face it. One of them's retiring again. And he's always retiring. It's like, oh, come on. He's just taking it out of the Grant Cardone playbook of Ty Lopez playbook. And it's, after the 18th time, it's a little bit bullshit. Morning, Anna. Hope you're well. Thank you, Anna on LinkedIn. We need to catch up soon. Yes, we do. I'm in Brighton, by the way, this next week. So I don't know where you are, but I'm in Brighton next week for a few days at the Brighton SEO conference. Anyway, let's move on. House prices. What's gone on with house prices? Now, all I can give you here is an indication. I don't get the right move data. I don't get information from estate agents. I can just give you an indication from the people that I've spoken to and my own experiences. We've got some sales going through right now. Some have fallen through, which we'll talk about. But house prices have only dropped a little bit, you know. That's kind of the impression. Now, when we talk about house prices, you know, we've got Land's End to John O'Groats and everything in between. And as we know, London, for example, is its own little island of a housing market, right? So, like, my stuff's in Leeds. And again, that is its own little market of what's going on. And if you're in Birmingham or Durham or Scotland or Wales, that's its own little market as well. They're all separate markets. So I can only really talk about what I'm experiencing and what I see and the conversations that I have. And the conversations that I'm having are that house prices, yeah, they've dropped a little bit. But that's a national average. Where we are up in Leeds, I don't really think they've dropped at all. In fact, if anything, it's business as normal. Now, I have to say that I think there's probably some less buyers in the marketplace than there was last year, right? The morning Shujat, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, on LinkedIn. Where was I? So I think the buyers are still there. There's just not as many. But they're still there. In fact, we had a house sale fall through. It was on at 300 grand. We put it up to 315, and we're still getting viewings. Let's talk about the house that fell through. Let's talk about a couple of those that fell through, actually. We've had 3 fallen through, right? So one of them, you won't believe, we agreed it in November. They were supposed to complete in January. The lady who was buying it sent her funds over to the solicitor, okay? That got intercepted. And she was actually getting emails from someone else, and that money for the deposit on the property actually went to a scammer's bank details, right? So the first that they heard of it was because we put the property back on the market because we'd not heard anything, right? She thought it was going to complete that week. Only found out that the house was going back on the market. Phoned up the estate agents being very, very upset. What's going on? Why is the property on the market? And they're like, well, you've not done anything. And she's like, no, we're completing this week. Turns out that she got scammed. So this money went over. All her bank accounts were on freeze. And so the estate agent came back and said, look, what do you want to do? Do you want to put it back on the market? Do you want to wait? They're very keen. So I said, look, let's trust the buyer. Never trust the buyer, by the way. Never trust them, right? Let's trust the buyer. Let's get them to see how far we can get again. Okay, well, let's do that. Trusted the buyer. They were then putting the property through. A month later, they get made redundant, they pull. So it's taken from November, what we're in now, we're in April, so what's that, 6 months? It's taken 6 months for a house not to sell. It's been empty, £1,200 a month mortgage, that's what, about 8 grand, 7.5 grand. Just in mortgage fees alone, because we kept the house empty instead of renting it. Just bonkers. So now that house is back on the market, we put it on for another 15 grand more than we'd sold it for last time, because I want to try and recoup some of that 7.5 grand if that's possible. So bonkers, absolutely bonkers. The other 2 that fell through are for EWS1 reasons. In EWS1 is the cladding, you know, from Grenfell. The whole cladding thing. Now, the EWS1, we've got an A-star rating, if that even exists. Morning, Chris. Hope you're well.